Let go and let God. What do people mean by that? I do think it's a very relevant expression, and yet I do think most people don't fully say it, or just brings to a very hypocrite situation. Because think about all the horrible things that happen to you. Think about all the horrible things that happen to people you love. Think about all the horrible things that happen in the world right now, all the violence, all the war, all the hunger, all the illness. And you're telling me that you should trust that world and let go? How could you possibly do that? That's a fair question. It's an honest question. How could you trust God when everything that you see in the world is misery? Or at least there's a possibility that something happens to you tomorrow. So how could you just relax and trust God? Oh, this is going to be for the good. Really? Do you really believe that? Or is it just a thing people say? Let go and let God. Just let go. People tell you that. Maybe your friends, you're into a problem, people say, yeah, just forget about it. Yeah, it feels so easy when you're saying it from the outside, but when you're inside of the story, so difficult. How you get out? Well, you have to understand that if you think miserable things that make you suffer and you or anyone else are ultimately real, then there is no loving principle in the world that created this world, right? There's no God. How could it be? How could there be a God so evil that would create all this suffering in the world? How could it be? So it's one or the other. You believe this world is real, or you believe God and the principle, ordering principle, what created this visual sensory experience. Whatever created it, you believe it is there. Is there an ordering principle in all experience, or there is not? You live in a random universe where something horrible can happen to you tomorrow, or you are trusting the universe that things happen exactly as they have to happen. There's no point in between. That's what I'm trying to say. We live all the time thinking, oh yeah, I just let go. Letting go without knowing, without letting go of something that you think is real, is like driving and closing your eyes and just trusting that it's going to work. No, you're going to crash your car. You think you're deluding yourself. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's going to be fine. But you're actually deeply and profoundly stressed. Many times, most people just let go when they don't have any other option. I'm sorry, that's not letting go. That's just being frustrated and tolerate something horrible happening. So, what it is? And the answer to this question, if there is God or there is no God, if the world is real or is not, the only way to answer that is by directly knowing it. And you can. But you cannot know what is fundamentally real to your experience if you're thinking in your head all the time. If you're having all this conversation, this is influencing your point of view, limiting your point of view. You think you're a separate person in survival in a world that is real. There's a lot of threatening things out there. If you don't go to work tomorrow, you're not going to have any money. So you're not going to survive and you're going to die. Anyway, you're going to die anyway, right? That's what everybody says. Death is for sure. Isn't that a thought? Just a thought. What is the reality of this moment? Are you alive or dead? This is where the solution is, not in an imagined answer or belief system or dogma or philosophy. No, the answer is right now, right here in your presence. But you need to remove the layers of your conditioning to be able to observe the principle that is creating this experience. And if you refine your observation skills, which is meditation, you're going to be able to see what is happening for real, moment by moment. And you're going to be able to see the dots, the whole spectrum. And only then you can actually say, let go and let God when something happens, because you can clearly see the matrix. You can clearly see how everything is created moment by moment and how everything is self-release. And this way you get to realize who you really are. You get to realize the ordering principle of the universe. They call it God. I try to avoid that word actually because it's loaded with a lot of cultural, contextual, and a lot of horrible things actually in the name of God. But think about the principle of the universe, the principle why you and I are alive right here, right now. What is creating that? The only way to get a proper answer and solve that dilemma is by researching this moment as it is, by meditating, by finding the right ways of letting go of all your personal thinking or your personal stories that tell you this, that, the other, and they just live fully this moment. And only then you realize that the matrix of your experience, it is love. It is peaceful. There was no damaging intended. Just consider that you may be dreaming death. You may be dreaming horrible things happening in the world. Just consider it. Consider it enough to start questioning it, because most people live assuming it is real, assuming that all horrible things happening in the world are real. But I tell you something, how could you possibly enjoy your life? How could you possibly not be anxious or not have problems all the time with everything? How could you possibly not be in a state where you're fighting every day of your life to move forward? If you believe, if you think that you're living in a dangerous world. And how could you possibly think that you're not living in a dangerous world when you see all these horrible things happen in your life? How do you solve that? The question is, what is real? Because the good news is that you may have missed the point of what's happening in this moment. That's why meditation is so important. This is not a philosophy. I'm suggesting you to explore this moment as it is with no conceptualization. You can do that because it's your nature. And only when you realize experientially that you are home, that all this horrible suffering was just a nightmare. Only a nightmare in your head with your thoughts. Only when you realize it experientially, you know. And that's how you let go and let the principle of the universe, principle of life, the principle that is making atoms exist, whatever that is, it is you.